Listening, summarize spoken text method. Let's look at the method that we use for this question type. A quick look at the screen, the audio player, and below that, the text box in which you will write your summary. And you have 10 minutes for each task of this type in the exam, and you're supposed to write 50 to 70 words. Now let's look at the method. First, be ready to listen. So before the audio begins, you should be ready to listen, and you should be ready to take down your notes. And when the audio starts, you need to visualize and you need to take notes. Your first main objective is to understand the theme. And when the audio ends, the notes that you have in your notepad, if that's where you are taking your notes, you transfer those notes into the text box, right? So as a list of points, and then you start writing. Then you start combining those points. You start writing, you start to build a summary. You have to cover all the key points. In the end, review and finalize. Check for any obvious mistakes. Check if you have covered the key points. Check if you have left any key point. And once done, submit. And you can go to the next question. That's all. Simple steps to follow. Similar to summarize written text. Once the audio is done and you have the notes, after that point, it becomes similar to summarize written text. But this is somewhat simpler because you are not constrained by just one sentence. Summarize written text is challenging because you have to express yourself, convey the key points in just one sentence. And a lot of people struggle with that, getting that correct. But here, you can write multiple sentences. So it becomes a bit easier. Let's have an example. I'll play the audio. And after that, you may pause the video for 10 minutes and try to write the summary.
One of my favorite exercises in my classes on creativity is to help students foster an attitude of looking at terrible ideas in the through the lens of possibilities. So I give them a challenge to create an idea for a brand new restaurant. They have to come up with the best ideas for a new restaurant and the worst ideas for a new restaurant. So the best ideas are things like a restaurant on a mountaintop, with a beautiful sunset, or a restaurant on a boat with a gorgeous view. And the terrible ideas are things like a restaurant in a garbage dump, or a restaurant with terrible service that's really dirty, or a restaurant that serves cockroach sushi. So they hand all the ideas to me. I read the great ideas out loud, and then I rip them up and throw them away. I then take the horrible ideas and redistribute them. Each team now has an idea that another team thought was horrible, and their challenge is to turn it into something brilliant.
You may pause the video now for 10 minutes and then try to write a summary. Let's look at a good summary response for this, a sample response. This is what it is. And now we'll go ahead and try to do this in a step-by-step manner. So the first step, as we know, is you have to be ready to listen. So before the audio plays, just be calm, just be ready to listen, to take notes, to understand. And then you visualize and you take notes. So with each word, try to make a mental picture, try to think, actively engage, as we say, with what you are listening. Try to form connections, try to paint a picture in your mind, and take notes. So if you were to look at my notes for this, they look something like this. I write exercise, then I draw an arrow on to teach creativity and students, good bad ideas, turn bad idea to great idea, and consider all possibilities. So now I didn't write possibilities in full. I just write POSB dot. And I might do that with all the letters or as many letters as I want. Because after all, these are my notes. As long as I can understand, that's fine. In this case, in this question, I was able to write some of the words in full and still pay attention. But for those of us who find it challenging, we can just write abbreviation. So I could have just written EXE or EXER. Right? And teach creativity, so TCH, CRE, just anything that helps me remember. That's the goal, because I'm not just taking notes, I'm also understanding. So even if I've written half the word, then based upon my understanding and what I have visualized, I'll be able to complete the word. When I just see CRE, it will immediately come to my mind creativity, because I'm taking notes and I'm visualizing. After that, my focus when I was listening was to understand the theme. And I've been able to do that. The theme is something about teaching creativity and working on ideas. So something related to that. And I'll touch upon that when I write my summary. So then I transfer all those notes to text box and I start writing. And then I combine them into sentences. So please note, I do not begin this with the lecture is about or the speaker talks about. This is a mistake a lot of people make. That kind of a format is fine when you are responding to the retell lecture question in the speaking section. But in writing, here you are writing a formal summary. So write it in a formal manner. And the formal summaries do not begin with the speaker tells the lecture is about. No, they straight away begin with the point. So as in this case, I straight away begin with, in an exercise to teach creativity, the teacher makes the students come up with etc. etc. And then I make sure that I cover all the key points. So my key points here were exercise, teach creativity, good ideas, bad ideas, and transfer the ideas, bad ideas into great ideas, consider possibilities. So I've covered all those key points. And in the end, I'll just do a review and finalize. In the review, I'll try to catch any spelling mistakes. If I made any spelling mistakes, I'll try to correct them. If I made any grammatical mistakes, I'll try to correct them. And after that, and while writing this, of course, I have to pay attention to the word limit. So between 50 to 70 words will get me full marks, will get me the best marks. So that's my goal. And after that, I'll just go submit it and move on to the next question. So that's all. Simple steps for the summary question, but it will get you great points for your writing section as well. So make sure you practice this a lot.